This is going to be the basic trail system for the native garden over here. We're going to have it connecting to the main garden through here. There's a red buckeye right there that's going to move ultimately, and we'll have a path from the main garden over to here, and then there'll be a gate back here and a little bit of a fence that connects into that like that. But then from here, what we want to do is just kind of get a serpentine kind of shape going like this. That will allow for some design. Okay, where this, of course, this will be a better curve than I've drawn on the ground this morning, but you get the point. In some of these spots, there'll be some sort of piece that comes into the bed a bit. Okay, like this. When you have these bed edges like this, it'll allow you to have lower things on the edge, taller things in the middle. And then this will continue like this. All right, back where stuff is here, I'll bring a piece of the bed into the middle here. All right, then this right here connects back into the main garden, as you can see. And we'll have a piece that comes off here and heads to the back area. Probably some sort of bench or something back here. Just like that. And there might be some piece that comes off and goes a different direction from here, you know, something like that. So as you can see from the drone, that's how the paths are ultimately going to be laid out. At some point, we'll have two different materials differentiating them. Right now, this is just all wood chips that we've piled pretty deep here, but we are putting things in, and I don't know how many plants we're up to now, probably 40 or something like that. I'm in no rush to do this. You know, same as we did the other garden over there. I really want to find plants that I'm interested in. We've had quite a few things donated to the garden over here that are super interesting. I don't want to, you know, I could rush out and find 50 native plants and fill it tomorrow, but I want to find some things that are kind of unusual that folks can add to their native collections in their garden. One thing that went in was this sable palmetto palm. This is a native to the southeast, and some people call this a cabbage palm, sable palm, got a lot of different names. This one will go by Carolina palm. This is on the state flag of South Carolina. This is the palm that you see there, and it's a trunking palm. It was donated by someone in Cary, who unfortunately I didn't get to meet. He dropped it off, and I didn't get to meet him. But this one was collected down in Bald Head Island, and it's proven, the genetics from that area have proven to be more cold hardy in general. So it should be fine here in the garden. Again, I'm spring planting it. If I'm planting something that's potentially marginal in the area. One note that I got from him was, if you are planting one of these palms, they do not like to have their roots disturbed. So when you take it out of the container and put it in the ground, make sure you're keeping that root ball intact and not breaking it, really breaking it apart like you would an azalea or a rhododendron or something like that. Here's a variety of our eastern white pine. This one's called Biltmore Blue, and it was a sport on a Pinus strobus, or eastern white pine, at Biltmore. And they actually shot it, from what I understand, they shot it out of the tree. And it had this blue, it's a blue dwarf mutation of our eastern white pine. So this one will only reach like 3 to 4 feet by 3 to 4 feet, something like that, in the next 10 years. Super, super interesting plant. I will tell you that we're a little warm for eastern white pines. We're a little south of typically where you'll see them. When you go west in the state of North Carolina and you get to Winston-Salem and you start to get a little more hilly going up into the mountains there, that's where you start to pick up the white pines, and of course more and more as you go into the north and northeast, but they are in our state. They're just in the mostly in the western part of the state. We'll probably end up filling. This goes into the shade by like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2:30 in the afternoon. So I got to get good sunlight on it, like most conifers, with some exceptions. But I don't want it in 15 hours of direct sun. So interesting little plant there. We have our perennials back here corralled into a couple of corrals, and I went over the ones that were in this corral, and some of them are now blooming. Coreopsis is blooming. But we added some things here, and I'll probably end up doing that in a separate video. These wood chips are so thick out here that I've thinned the space out a little bit and then planted them here, and they're doing really, really well. But I don't want to, we have a serious rabbit problem on this side of the garden. So I'd like to get these things a little bit more established before they get distributed into the garden. So strange approach. Normally I don't plant things twice. You've never probably seen me do that in any way, shape, or form. But I did these wood chips so thick over here that I think it'll be detrimental to some of the herbaceous perennials in the short term. So I thinned it down to just a couple inches there basically, and then planted them like I normally would anywhere else. And they're thriving. Everything is thriving in there. And so once we dig them up, we'll probably get some divisions out of it ultimately. You can see how full the main garden is back here. And as you're watching this a couple days ago, I think I did some drone footage of the back garden. You should have seen that video by now. This will be like that as well. At some point, we're just again not trying to rush through it really, and I want some interesting things back here and some things that will allow us to kind of teach a little bit as we go. I have a dwarf Yopon holly here called Oscar. Forgot to point out Griffin is back there. I'm sure you've seen that at this point. He's in training back here. And when I was talking about the palm earlier, there were some yellow jackets next to it. If you go back and look at that in the video, there's some yellow jackets over there I've got to get rid of, unfortunately. I'm all about everything living their own best lives, but I can't have a spot where people can wander this garden and step on yellow jackets. That can't happen. So this dwarf Yopon holly is kind of interesting. This was I think a Dodge selection. Many of our landscape plants out in the world were selected from that nursery. This one will get about 3 foot tall and about 5 foot wide. It is a male. I think Stokes Dwarf and Oscar here are male dwarf Yopon hollies, which won't fruit, but they will pollinate shillings, which is a female and most common of dwarf Yopon hollies. So if you want berries on your dwarf Yopon hollies, you get male or female varieties, but that one would pollinate it. There are not a lot of native meatballs, whereas I do talk about, I think, plants in general, my opinion, not everybody's opinion. There's a lot of almost too many meatballs out in the world, plants that are just cut into perfect little circles all over the place. But I think you do need a few meatballs in the garden. You need a few things that kind of grow in a little bit of a formal shape, just to kind of settle the eye just a bit. When you don't have lawn and you don't have anything else, it's nice to have the occasional formal little dome thing just to kind of settle everything else out. One of the issues also designing over here is, over there with all the breeding of all the Asian plants, and there's natives over there too, but all those plants, it's much easier to find large leaves, little leaves, we can really contrast foliage color and texture and all those things over there really, really easily. As we're collecting these native plants, finding texture differences and color differences and those kinds of things, a little more challenging. But anyway, first meatball over here in the native garden. We had a Woodlander's Blue Zenobia over by some much larger things that were eating it. So we've given it a new home over here. This is a blueberry family member, and you'll see that little white flowers on racemes that you would recognize that. This was a selection from Woodlander's Nursery with this really beautiful blue foliage. Probably expect this plant to get 4 or 5 feet tall in time, 4 or 5 feet wide. We had a deer sample this, I guess decided it didn't like it, but had done fairly significant damage in the process of not liking it. And so it's recovering from that. It's got a lot of new growth on it. I'll probably tip prune this piece here once I see it really starting to come out, and I know that it's transition to this space okay. It gets really vibrant fall color, really vibrant red, maroonish kind of fall color, similar to other blueberry members as well. But really interesting plant. Typically, again, like a lot of these native plants, it would like kind of moist soils. And so we have that thing over here where at least the water moves this direction. It will definitely be wetter the further you go through this native garden, that direction, especially with all this organic material we've added here. But in the wild would probably prefer slightly more moist conditions. But it is native to the state of North Carolina and the southeast United States, and I think hardy into zone 6. This is Styrex Americanis. Typically the Styrex that we see out in gardens everywhere are Japanese Styrex, and there are a lot of named varieties of Japanese Styrex. In fact, we put up a video last week with 50 small ornamental trees, and I think 3 of them were variations: a weeping Japanese Styrex, an upright regular green one, and then a black foliage one. So that's where most of the when you see Styrex, that's what you're going to see typically in a garden center. But we do have an American native Styrex, typically though wants to be in wet areas. And so we've got it on the lower part of this bed where the water, where it should stay more moist. This one grows, we call it a shrub or a tree. So it gets, 6 feet wide or more and 6 feet tall or more, but structurally kind of similar to Japanese Styrex, where they're kind of uniform branching. You get that on, and I've mentioned that on Styrex before, Japanese Styrex, where if you were going to put 5 of the same tree in your garden and you wanted them all to look alike, Japanese Styrex are one of those plants that you can kind of get to do that. Like they become clones of one another, basically. It'll get the white flowers similar to the and this one had a few on it right when we got it, and I waited a little late to film it. Again, wants this moist conditions. Typically you're going to see this in more of a sandy bog area with a lot of organic material, highly rich sandy soils in the east. But really kind of excited to have this plant. I think it's kind of a super unknown that we have a native species of Styrex. And it was also, again, one of the many donations we've had here to the native garden. And I should say that dwarf Yopon holly, that Oscar, that was from Tony, I think, from Plant Delights Nursery. That's where that one came from. One more I'll mention and I'll wrap this video up, and we'll talk more about these coming up. When we visited Kevin Paris down at Spartanburg Community College, was that last year? Last year or the year before? I'm losing track of time here. He sent us home with several of his hybrids, and K. Paris Magnolia we've talked about was one that he had found originally, and then since then he's been hybridizing magnolias like crazy, and has introduced others as well. We have Melissa, I showed off in a Instagram post not that long ago. Beautiful pink flower on it, that hybrid. There are 4 other ones that we have that are native. Some of them are native with non-native crosses. Those are going to end up down at the Wallace Garden. But this one is actually a cross between Virginicus and Grandiflora, 2 of our native magnolias, and it is a vigorous grower. I would say, we brought it home pretty good size, but even coming out of the gate this spring, this thing is flying. I haven't seen it flower yet, but boy, is it on its way. I've got a weird stake on it right this minute. I'd like to stake it a little bit straighter. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I just moved it over here. It was in the vegetable garden. We had overwintered them in the vegetable garden. All 5 magnolias did beautifully out over there. So we'll be showing off the other 4 hybrids later, but this one we went ahead and put into the native garden. It's a cross between 2 of our great native magnolias. So there you go. There's some of the activity we have going on, how the paths are ultimately going to be laid out over here. Got some, this is a waiting game now. We're waiting for this wood chips to break down, and we're adding woody plants that will tolerate it while we wait. The video that will have come out before this one had a couple other plants that went into the garden as well. If you haven't seen that video, there are 2 natives in that video as well. Thanks for watching.